Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs and our segment In the Weeds with Walter Sullivan. A pleasure, Walter. It's been great all morning.
It has, Jonathan.
And our next guest up is David Yusefzadeh, CEO and founder of Cloud Creamery.
Yes.
Making everyone's favorite
Thank
ice
you.
cream.
Does
We
both
hope so,
things I
yeah.
like, ice cream and cannabis.
Fabulous. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing, David.
Sure. So
Fascinating. You've got a sort of classical background for making food.
Yes.
You're a chef?
I've spent my entire career in restaurants and hotels, cooked for lots of different people, lots of different scenarios, and throughout the process, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and started to evaluate what edibles were available, and really see what kind of food was being paired with cannabis through the dispensaries and the processors and cultivators. And what we found was a massive hole, a massive gap, that there were, is a real lack of actual real food and thoughtful food that's out there for people that want to consume edibles. So
why not make it everyone's favorite?
Why not make it
cream?
with ice cream, right? It's positive. It's usually, viewed as a treat or something as a reward. So yeah, I think overall it brings, positive energy to people.
Excellent. Now, so you are producing various types of ice cream? And,
Ice cream,
I
sorbets.
imagine creating the recipes?
Correct. Creating all the
From the ground
formulas from the ground up. Yep, we're doing our best to use as many local purveyors as possible, and local in different contexts. So for our vanilla, for example, we're getting it from Costa Rica instead of Madagascar. So as local as it can be. We're working with some local farmers in the western part of Massachusetts for tomatoes, for example, for a tomato sorbet. So trying to not only create new flavors, but really try to help farmers that are losing out when they're selling tomatoes, for example. If it's not an A grade, perfect, no blemish, they can only sell those to Whole Foods, for example. And then as you go down B, C, and D, the Bs can't even go to lower end grocery stores. They have to go to Hunt's or Heinz or massive, companies that produce it, and they lose so much money. So we're trying to come in, purchase them for a better price, still more than they would get from Heinz or these massive companies, but also cheaper for us. So everyone wins, and we get to make something that's local and delicious and innovative.
And I really like that. I mean, that really is, not only are you helping your own business grow, but you're actually helping businesses in Massachusetts that are ancillary to the cannabis business.
Right. We're trying. It's a tricky process with so many regulations and paperwork and these things around. So we first have to make sure that these farmers, these companies are comfortable being associated with cannabis. I think that's still a box we have to check, for everyone. We don't want to just put their label on our Instagram. And
Now, you're a chef. I mean, you could basically put cannabis in anything. But how did you pick specifically what?
Sure. Well, so for me, it started really with just things that merge into my daily life. I think that, again, going back to the dispensaries, I don't eat gummy bears. I don't eat candy. I mean, unless my niece was around, I don't eat candy in general. So going in and just having cookie after cookie, brownie after brownie, gummy bear, lozenge, the things that are there, we really try to find what could I keep on the shelf, in the fridge, in the freezer, and just grab a few scoops from without the whole package being oxidized, or the whole bar being ruined. Ice cream is that perfect thing. It stays at a temperature where it's not going to oxidize or not deteriorate. So you could take a few scoops at your leisure and do what you want. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is that the human body gets 4 kilocalories of energy per gram of carbohydrate, 4 for protein, but 9 for fat. So if you're going through Crohn's disease, if you're going through chemotherapy, HIV, ulcerative colitis, any autoimmune disease where you're taking medication that additionally hurts your immune system, having energy is a massive part of it. And starting your day out with a sativa strain or something that's uplifting with good energy, grass-fed dairy, there's very few things on the market that can give you something like that.
So your business plan is really to provide products to both medical marijuana dispensaries as well as retail, and so you
Correct.
produce them differently based on the THC level.
We base them, yes, formulas, THC ratios maybe is a better way to phrase it, because I think, again, a chemo patient needs a lot of THC to balance their nausea, spark an appetite, and help them get some sleep. CBD for inflammation and other parts. So different formulas. I mean, our overall goal is to be in Mass General, is to be in Dana-Farber, is to be in Mayo Clinic or John Hopkins or somewhere where, again, if your child's going through a procedure, if your parent is going through a procedure, someone that needs a boost and assistance, guidance, and or a clean treatment, at a young age, we want to be that option. We want to be that trusted brand that they know our background, they know our thoughtfulness, our integrity, and the diligence we've done on all of these concepts. So it's more of headed towards what I guess you could call the gray market right now, of people that want to try it, are interested, not really sure, don't necessarily want their neighbors to see them in line at a dispensary, but still want to literally see what the buzz is about.
So it's really fascinating because you're taking a product that can be utilized in a healthcare setting to be part of a treatment plan for patients.
Right.
And part of what we talked about before we came on air is part of your drive for doing this is allowing people to use product that helps with their managing their disease symptoms, etc.
Right.
Potentially in a clinical setting
Could
without
be.
putting narcotics into their body.
Right. And I think that to take a few steps back, really investigating what medicine really means. I think I was born in the early 80s. So for me, hearing the phrase Eastern medicine always had this very
Esoteric
whimsical,
sort of-
right. It was just kind of sure, like, I guess like food is health and plants are health, but what does that really mean? And how does that really help? And is it effective as some of these other things? And I think, as you grow up and as you obviously spending time in restaurants and food and seeing the joy and the pleasure and understanding when someone puts something delicious in their mouth, the chemicals in their body, what it does to them and the joy that it brings and the goosebumps that it gives people and these positive things and pairing that with cannabis, something that also has so many benefits to it. There's no, it's hard for me to have a doctor or anyone frankly tell me what makes my body feel the way I want it to. And how I feel managing cramping or bleeding or vomiting or, side effects of Crohn's disease. It's kind of saying that it's going to the medical realm is putting a box around it, I guess is all I'm trying to say. We want people to be able to choose how they medicate themselves. It shouldn't go into this bottle of pills, 25 milligrams of it. You should be able to take a few bites if you're having a tough day. You should be able to not take any if you're having a great day. It should be up to you and not, go through a pharmacy or a doctor to dictate what you get. So,
I mean, your business is really mission driven versus just getting into this business.
Correct. And that's what we're standing on.
Right. And I really find that to be an incredible reason. This
Thank
isn't
you.
just about, I want to get into this business to make money. I'm going to
Right.
actually make a difference. As you were thinking getting into this business, partially it's your own, if it's your own health issues, but
Sure.
really, what was your thought thinking and what were the ups and downs of moving forward with this?
Well, I think for starters, being in restaurants for a long time, it's a tough industry schedule wise. It's hard on your body, your family, your time. You're working when everyone else has time off. You're working every Friday night, every Saturday night. You're missing holidays. You're missing traveling. And I was in hotels for a long time, so you're literally open every minute of the year. So that was kind of the start. Was how do I stay involved with food and not stay in the restaurant industry? And there's a few paths you can do. Private chef work. You could go work for a massive consumer packaged goods company, but the creativity and those things don't really exist there. And so what I was exploring with my own personal health at the same time, it really honestly was just perfect timing. I think where most of the country is right now, or a good chunk of it, at least in the Northeast and on the West Coast, they're open-minded. They're open to new things. They're open to new methods of medication, treatment, wellness. So I think it really just kind of, honestly, just the intersection occurred naturally, which for me is the best part.
What were the roadblocks you saw moving forward?
There's still a lot of them. Personally, not too many. My family knows what I've gone through health-wise, and my friends, so everyone was really supportive to know, they understand how it helps. From a business standpoint, just coming into states like Massachusetts, I'm not from Massachusetts, so coming in here and meeting a lot of people that were already in the industry or that have been working on the movement, pushing it forward, to try to really sit back and listen to their struggles and their pain points and learn from them and, ask for their help and ask them to guide us, kind of, learning from the landmines that they sidestep. So it's been really tough dealing with the local government on policies and procedures and documents, and it's a bit overkill with some of the things they're asking us to do. So
Do not disagree.
it's they're freaking out a little bit. So
Well, and that brings along with it an enormous hurdle, I guess, to really, allowing your business to flourish. But
Right.
but it seems to me that your chef training and your ability to create product and innovation is there, right?
Right.
You've got
Right.
the creative energy and the ability to new products,
It's the
new
fun
flavors,
stuff.
et
Yeah.
cetera.
Yeah.
I would imagine with the distribution model that you're looking for, starting to meet with dietitians and hospitals and
Sure.
purveyors that, trying to change their mindset around what
Right.
is an alternative
Right.
For people rather than strictly retailers who are
And
looking
that's
to bring your product on.
correct. We've been chatting with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of New England, who've been very kind. Their local chapter is very open to the idea. I think overall the national director, I've spoken with her, she's open to it. It's definitely a process, and they want to make sure it's, again, they're supporting a brand that is trying to hit the right marks and bring, this integrity to the marketplace. So we've been working with them because we've offered to donate a portion of every package that we sell to them, but they legally can't accept the money yet. So it's
a
just
fascinating dichotomy.
Conceptually,
because on the one hand,
yeah.
They want to endorse your product, but they can't.
Well, and what's
know?
amazing is when I finished graduate school last August, I was dropped off my insurance with no notification, no email, no text, no nothing. I graduated early, and I went to get my infusion at Beth Israel in August, and they said, your insurance has been dropped, and so I called them, went through this whole process, called them back the next week and said, look, I'll just pay for it out of pocket. What does it cost? And they said, well, it's $1,800. Come down. And I wanted to just take that because it would give me another 8 to 10 weeks to sort out anything I needed to go. So I go in the next day. It was $18,000. It was $18,000.
Yeah,
which I can't go down the rabbit hole of
Right.
how crazy that statement even is. But what are people supposed to do that have to take these drugs? So I went cold turkey off 400 milligrams of Remicade, which is not great for your body in any way, shape, or form. And I happen to be traveling in Asia, so lots of stress in dealing with this, not just worried about my personal health and what's going to happen and what's next, and not being able to take cannabis with me while I travel, and all these other things that have been helping to mitigate a lot of these symptoms, and honestly just figuring out what's next. And so that was really the trigger to say, not going to go that route anymore. Going to work on what foods, what strains, what time of day, listening to my body and acknowledging how I'm feeling today, and then figuring out what helped or what didn't work the next day, and literally documenting it until you can put something together to get a weekly, rundown of what works and stay with it. So
you have an amazing story. Two things. One, you can do what you say because of your background as a chef.
Sure.
You have a great story about why you're doing this and the benefits it has. Have you been able to find a location?
We have a location. We have a facility in Framingham.
I mean, I find it had to be great for the community because you're not selling to retailers.
Correct.
Consumers, excuse me.
Correct. We're not a retail facility. I think the Framingham local government has been they've been very kind, very thoughtful, very helpful. They are being asked for certain documents that they know are silly, but they have to follow policy. So we acknowledge that, and we definitely playing by the rules. But I think the townships surrounding Boston really want to pull away from being in Boston. I mean, the CCC is moving to Worcester, or has already moved to Worcester. They're trying to come out of the city and really reach a group of people that aren't the transient college people that are just here for business. They want real local Framingham, Worcester. They want to dig roots in the communities that are outside of the city and really set the tone.
And I think with the type of business you have, everyone's thinking about revenues, but they don't think about costs.
Right.
And then when the market starts to be more competitive,
Correct.
Costs become into play.
Cost is the only play, right?
And they lose sight of that. I think
Correct.
Being in Framingham or somewhere else makes a big difference. And you have a mayor that's a first-time elected mayor,
Right?
Has really been inviting.
Right. You're absolutely right. I think the rent in Framingham is just, rent in Boston is insane. So just from a purely foundational standpoint of setting up, getting equipment, you can allocate revenue away from what would be maybe twice as much, 3 times as much in Boston or close to Boston. Being in Framingham, you have more space. The manufacturing zone area in Framingham is a little run down, so it's great to see life come back to it, and hopefully jobs come back to that area. So there's lots of positives around it, and frankly, really the only negative to any of this is what the people that don't support us are creating. I think overall it's really hard to find something negative throughout our process or what we're trying to do. So.
Well, and it's really fascinating to me also is this entire industry really has been largely born out of anecdotal,
Correct.
Evidence.
Correct.
And people saying the benefits, like
Right.
yourself,
Right.
who could be a spokesperson, and yet there's not the money poured into studies to
Sure.
prove out the efficacy.
And
of
I
all this
find
stuff.
I have a
Correct.
friend of mine who I was dealing with. You got to read Bill Bennett's book on the problems with marijuana, and you read the book. It's all anecdotal based is the problem.
Right.
There's no scientific facts contained in the book. And
Yeah.
you sit back and say, wait a minute.
Yeah, facts
And
are
this
important.
is why we're saying the dangers of cannabis.
Right. Because there is no grounded basis for any of the.
Right.
You cannot die from overdosing on cannabis. You can die if the product isn't appropriately manufactured because
But
of
you can-
pesticides or anything else.
But you can die of Advil. You can go to CVS and
die from
die
alcohol.
off 300 products that are sitting on their
As
shelves.
my 21-year-old has reminded me many times. There's been no study, no evidence of anybody ever dying of marijuana overdose.
Aren't you supposed to be telling your kids that versus the other way around?
She's a neuroscience major. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go. She's done her homework. So
Great stuff, David. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about your business, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I think Instagram is probably the best way. I think Instagram is the best route because we do a lot of events. We did one in New York last night. We're doing one in Providence tonight. So we're, for us, it's been really challenging to sell to customers. So there's lots of ways to throw events and have people come and buy tickets and be able to enjoy a lot of the ice cream and a lot of the stuff that we do.
Excellent. Our guest on this episode of In the Weeds is David Yusefzadeh, CEO and founder of
job.
Cloud Creamery. And it's been a pleasure having you
Thank
on,
you. Thanks
on
for
the
having
show
me.
today.
David,
Appreciate
I'm
it.
just calling you David. I'm going to try that.
Thank you.
And we'll be